of their book club, though not as coherently as he thought. "I will concede that Elijah does get excited," Eva continued, "especially when anyone goes against her the detective," she said, knowing that saying the parrot's name would entice more animation. "But she was not as potty-trained as you'd claimed." Pete shrugged and moved to grab a key lime square from the center of the coffee table. "Jazz is different." Eva eyed the dog, unsure that would be the case. Then again, for the sake of her decorative rugs, she hoped he was right. Pete and Kay ran a dog grooming and boarding business several blocks over, and often came with a new pet to every meeting, claiming that it was good to have them socialized. "Anyone heard from Geraldine?" Kay asked, taking her tea to the seat beside her husband. "Not since last week," Willard said, reaching for his second key lime square. "She texted me last night to say she was coming. Or at least, I think that's what she was saying." Eva laughed, recalling the confusing text she'd tried to decipher. "She is very bad at texting," Kay agreed. "The buttons are so tiny." Pete spoke up in defense of the eldest patron of the club. "I hear that," Willard said. "My kids keep texting instead of calling and get so frustrated when I reply with K, but I can't manage much else." "The gang's all here," a voice floated out from behind them as Geraldine Walker came up the stairs in a floor-length sheath dress in bold colors, accompanied by a kimono-style shawl with fringe at the bottom. In her early 70s, she was elegant in a way that only Geraldine could pull off. With her hair dyed a bright red and her lipstick just a shade off, she never left the house without a full face of makeup. Her mismatched patterns and bright colors added an over-the-top air of elegance that somehow worked for the widow. "And don't think for a moment that I would miss the harrowing conclusion of Death on the Nile." "Hear, hear," Willard said, leaning forward for yet another square right as Eva speared him with a look. He leaned back with an exasperated sigh. "Not you two. Bonnie called earlier and asked me to remind you of your dietary choices." "Good thing I've got you and Bonnie," he said with an eye roll. "Is Elijah coming tonight?" Pete asked as Geraldine slipped past in a cloud of Chanel No. 5 to take her seat. Eva caught the worried look he shot toward Jazz. "I believe he's out of town on business," Eva said, pulling her tattered copy of one of Agatha Christie's greatest works from below the coffee table. "Shall we get started?" "Yes, darling," Geraldine said in her best impression of Mrs. Salome Otterborn as depicted by Angela Lansbury in the 1978 film of the book. Perhaps that's where the inspiration for the headdress she wore had come from. She was always trying to make their book club meetings more of a dress-up affair, but so far it hadn't caught on. "But first," Geraldine continued in dramatic fashion, "I have news." Kay's eyes brightened. "News?" Ava sighed. "Geraldine, this isn't gossip hour. This is our book club. We've got the last several chapters of Death on the Nile, and then we're voting on the restaurant for our quarterly dinner." "All important," the older woman agreed. "But I feel this news is somewhat related." "Go on, then," Willard said. Pete seemed content to listen as well. "Pretty bird," Poirot squawked. "Pretty bird needs a cracker." "I think that means he wants to hear it too," Geraldine said, smirking at Eva. "Oh, fine, but make it short. The ending is perfectly dramatic," Eva said as a gentle reminder. "It all began while I was on my morning constitutional." Geraldine thrust a hand in front of her, and Eva was reminded of a gypsy about to deliver a fortune. "I had quite lost track of where I was when I happened upon the police station." Eva held in her smile as best she could. She'd known Geraldine ever since she'd moved to Key West 6 years ago, and the woman was always sticking her nose in where it didn't belong, especially when it came to the police department in Key West. It was more likely that the station had been Geraldine's destination the whole time. And here comes this fancy black car pulling into the parking lot. Something foreign, I think. And that's when it happened. Kay was leaning forward, entranced. "What happened?"